Welcome peeps to lesson 1 on week 1. So today is your physics test, which I'm sure you're all very excited about. So let's start by reading through the instructions together. So make sure that you answer all questions. You may use a calculator, which means you should use a calculator. Use a pencil and a ruler for diagrams and graphs, and use scientific language. So there are 8 questions in this test, and I've done something slightly different this time, which is I've shown which success criteria from your booklets each question covers. This is something that you don't need to worry about during the test, but when we look over the test in next lesson, this will come in handy. I've also broken down the questions into how many marks each question is worth, and the test is out of 100 in total, so whatever you get will be your percentage. And then again, you don't need to worry about this, what I did well and what I need to improve on columns. At the moment, again, this is something that we're going to use when we review our test next lesson. Okay, so before you actually start on your test, I just want to remind you of a few kind of techniques that you can use to make sure you get the most out of a question and write the most effective answer. So first of all, I would highly recommend that as you read through, you highlight what you think are the key words in the question. Like so. The next thing I would recommend is to make sure that when you're writing your answer, you think about whether you should use those key words in your answer. And if not, then think about which key words you should be using. So keywords, scientific language are absolutely crucial, remember, guys. The next thing that I want you to remind you to do is if there is a graph or a table or a diagram, you need to use it. And more importantly than using, or as importantly as using it, actually refer to it in your answer. So for example, you might want to refer to the number of something. If it's a graph or a table, or if it's a diagram, you might want to refer to the piece of equipment maybe shown in the diagram. So make sure that, these are here for a reason, so use them. Okay, so the next thing to consider is that if it's worth 2 marks or more, your question, you should really try and use bullet points to split up your points. That way you can check that you're being thorough, i.e. making enough points to get the marks, and read through your answers afterwards to check that everything you've said is relevant as well. So thoroughness and relevance are important. Okay, and then the last thing that I want to talk about is if there's any maths involved, make sure that you draw the relevant triangle that you need. For instance, speed, distance, time triangle, and make sure that you lay things out how I've shown you. So you write whichever thing you're trying to work out. So speed, 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 for example, and then you put in the formula, then you put in the numbers. I'm just putting in pretend numbers here, guys. And then you put in your answer and you make sure that you have units, okay? It's really important that you stick to that layout for all of your questions. And I think that's really everything. So it's time now to actually do the test. So guys, I don't really want you to be rushing through this test. So although I would say it should take you about an hour, if you need to use more time than that, then do feel free to use more time, okay? So roughly an hour, but as I say, use as much time as you want. If you want to break it into 2 half hours and do them at separate times, that's absolutely fine, as long as you do it under exam conditions, so you're not checking things up, obviously, or looking at notes or anything like that. We will then have a lesson where we go through all the answers together, okay? So good luck, boys. Just do your best. That's all you can do.